it a challenge in any way when you have that much success that you had last year to stay still humble and hungry?
I don't think so. I've been able to follow Cooper Kupp and be able to stay in his back pocket. I feel like he's been able to teach me so much. I feel like I had a great success last year, but due to the people around me, I've been able to feel like I've been able to progress more from where I was last year and even at the end of the season and continue to move forward. I think of the young rookies I get to hang out with, Kobe, Steve, and Davis, and then also the veterans that I've been around with, Big Higgs, Coop, and Matthew, obviously, and it's made it even more exciting to come back to football.
What would you say is like the biggest lesson that you've learned from being around Cooper this past offseason and just going into training camp this year?
Consistency, and then like the idea of the work never stops. Cooper, from the moment of the Super Bowl, we were texting each other during the Super Bowl saying, hey, Monday you could get a little bit of break, but I expect to see you back Tuesday at 6 a.m. and stuff like that. So from the moment we watched those guys win the championship to all the way to where we had to report to camp and stuff like that, we've been working and getting better at various different things, working out, lifting, and then every time we get on the field, Matthew and Coop have such a repertoire of understanding each other and very precise work when we get out there. We're not just kind of going around, kind of just tossing the ball around just for fun. They really want specific work, and we get done.
What about off the field? What is kind of your development and relationship like off the field now?
I have 5 brothers in my own family, but I feel like Coop's been the brother that I never knew I had, and it's been such a big blessing to be able to have somebody who's been in the LA environment for longer than I have and to kind of clear the waters for me, I guess, and steer me in the right direction. So steer me away from the bad things and keep me on the good things. It's been such a blessing. I love that guy.
Puka, obviously contact rules are very limited right now, but when you're working against Trey White, what do you feel from him, and how is he sort of teaching you as you guys go?
He's really, really smart. Pre-snap stuff, he understands the motions wherever we're going and lineman stuff like that. So he's super aware of it. Kind of where, depending on where we're lined up, he knows he can eliminate certain routes and stuff like that. So it's been fun because there are things that I feel like I know are my strengths, and they don't really work against him because he's thinking the mental game before I ever get to be a physical player with him. So it's been super fun because now I get to work on some of the different tools that me and Coop been working on.
Whenever you talked about trying to cut down on the drops this season, I'm curious what you did this offseason to try to work on that.
Hand-eye coordination, we catch a good amount of tennis balls, but then watching it all the way into the catch. I trust number 9 with all of my heart and soul, so I know wherever he's going to put the ball, I know I can trust it and believe that with all confidence that it's putting me in the right direction. And sometimes I have a bad habit of pop in my head, Coach Yarb says, of knowing that Matthew's going to hit me right in the center of the chest, but then trying to look out where the defenders are. So trying to make sure I watch it all the way into my gloves and snag that ball and protect it.
Mike, was there anything in particular that you wanted to work on during the offseason?
Being more precise in my route running. I feel like with number 9 in the backfield, he can definitely erase some of the mistakes you have as a receiver. So being able to match up perfect routes with a perfect ball, I feel like is a great recipe for success.
Mike LaFleur was, I think, joking earlier in the week that last year he noticed you were wearing a long T-shirt, and this year you're going to kind of for a shorter look to show off your washboard. What did you do in the off season to kind of change your body at all?
Yeah, definitely my eating habits. See, Coop would he knows I used to like I still like McDonald's. I definitely don't go there as often as I used to and stuff like that. But so it's been good eating the right way and fueling my body with the stuff that I feel like it needs. But then also like the consistency that I had mentioned of continuing to work out. I feel like last year I didn't really know kind of what the offseason would look like, especially after coming from rookie mini camp and stuff like that. And what we did was like I kind of wanted to break from football, but been able to find different ways to take my mind away from football and recalibrate in the best way possible while still getting consistent work.
And do you feel fit? I mean, do you feel different physically than you did last?
Yes, 100%. I feel like, my body control, I feel like that's something I feel very confident in, but I feel like it's taken the next level. And then being able to be more precise in my route running with that body control. I think it was maybe Coach LaFleur or Coach Yarb was saying you slimmed down a little bit and the fat's not going the opposite way of when you're trying to cut. So I think that's a good, it may have been a backhanded compliment, but I think it was a good thing.
You're leaner. Are you the same weight, a higher weight? What?
I'm around 210 pounds right now. So last year, throughout the season, it was around 215 and probably 218 range and stuff like that. But I think I'm still hitting all the same weights and stuff like that. I'm probably a little bit better, Coach Yarbs like to say the brrr in the stomach. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think I'm working on it.
Can you send a message to the fans that they're supporting the team?
What was that?
Can you
Sorry.
send a message to the fans and supporting team? We saw you signing some.
Oh yeah, this is the best energy. I love it. It's got a little bit of a closer environment than we had at Irvine, but it's so fun when people are coming to cheer you on and supporting us. We got a great group of guys. All the young guys who have our experience, we're getting ready to roll and kind of take that experience that we learned from year one and get ready to roll hard in year two.
Block of practices. I've really liked the way the guys have come out and worked. We'll be off tomorrow and then back on Monday where we put the pads on. I know you guys are all wondering about Darious. He did get his hamstring the other day. We'll just take it, a couple days at a time. We ended up adding Jerry Jacobs because we've lost 2 corners. Ended up needing to make sure that we don't have that affect some of the other guys where you end up adding to their workload. But it's nothing that's going to dictate any sort of change in Darius' status other than continuing to monitor him. And then I know if there's anybody that's going to attack his rehab the right way and keep his spirits up, keep his mind right, and then be ready to go whenever he's feeling good, it'll be Darious Williams.
What's the severity of the hamstring?
It was a strain. So, those are the, when you're talking about those types of positions, Jordan, it can be really tricky. We are definitely not going to rush him back. Here's the good thing. We're about 40 plus days out from being able to play Detroit, or when he did it, it was 44 days, so a little over 6 weeks. And so that, that's a good thing, but hopefully we'll just take it a little bit at a time. I don't want to, get too far ahead of ourselves because you get an idea once you start to really get into, some of the rehab processes. How is he feeling? You get him out here on the grass, being able to run. But in the meantime, we will be smart with him.
I know Cooper's injury was different, but did you learn anything from that process last year?
Yeah, that was very different because that was really, Sarah, kind of figuring out exactly what it was. There wasn't any sort of specific instance like what occurred the other day with Darius. It was kind of, he just knows his body so well and it just didn't feel right. And then there were some times where it just kind of yanked, but there wasn't a moment where you could really feel, all right, that's the play that it actually occurred on. But what I do think that it taught us is that the foundations are really important to be able to set, and that's why it's going to be important for us to reset Darius' foundation. He's a guy that's always taken great care of his body. Sometimes these are freak accidents. When you do rush guys back in, and I don't want to even say rush back in, but when you get back right into, training camp settings the way that you do, a little bit different than the way you onboard in the off season. These are the things that you worry about, but you do have to practice and play football to get better. And like I said, I do feel good about the human being and who it is and being able to get him back as soon as possible because of the way he'll go about his work.
Sean,
As far
He
as...
was just not in for the last
No, just managing his workload. So he practiced for the whole beginning. We set up the practice in a manner that was reflective of when we ended up, deloading him towards the latter half. It was to get some other guys in there. So you'll see that kind of approach with some guys like him, John Johnson, Trey White, and some of our guys up front as well, Jordan.
because Cooper had a full off season to get in good shape, he said he feels as good as he's been.
Yep.
What do you see from that?
I see that. I see a guy that he knows and understands his body, Kurt. He knows how to go about his business. He knows now going into year 8 in the NFL of what it feels like to be sturdy from the ground up, to have that foundation, to be able to put his foot in the ground and have that sort of even balance with the quickness, with the twitch, the way that he feels in his upper half to fight through reroutes or to get connected in the run game. And he's done an outstanding job of that, and we want to just be able to continue on with that, and he's really set a great example for the rest of those guys, and I thought today was a really good day for our receivers overall.
What was it about Jerry? What was it about Jerry that you thought made him a good fit?
He's played good football. He's got some good tape out there. Aubrey has a history with him from his time with him in Detroit, so that was important. And then there's still some other guys that we might have the possibility of being able to bring in. But when you lose 2 corners, at least in the immediate future, in terms of we know that Darian's going to be for the year, and then Darius will at least be kind of a week at a time. We wanted to make sure that we didn't add to the other guys that are on this roster with their workloads, and then it can kind of have that accumulative effect, and you don't really want that to occur. But he's had good tape out there ultimately.
without pads, but you mentioned a couple times you could feel Braden Fisk,
Yeah.
feel Jared Vert. Like, what does that mean to you when the pads aren't on? What kinds of things are you taking?
I think they just show up. There's a suddenness, there's ability to finish. I think Braden Fisk has done a great job from learning from the OTAs, then being able to apply just some of his plans with his hands, understanding of where he fits, where his play opportunities arise. Jared Verts was a guy that I thought had an incredibly strong spring. Thought really he did a good job these last couple days. And when you feel those guys, especially when I look at it from an offensive lens, when you feel defensive players, that's one of the biggest compliments I can give guys. Still, this isn't real football. The closest thing that we do get to real football is when we will put the pads on. And And that's when you can start running some different schemes too. You know, there's a little bit of a regulated look in terms of some of the run things that we're activating in these settings, some of the limitations in what we allow our guys in terms of not really bowling. But we will try to be, you know, smart and minimize the risk for injury, but we got to go when we put the pads on Monday.
Sean, obviously kicking was a major ongoing kind of consistent struggle for you guys last season. What are you encouraged by from the rookie kicker and just from what you guys saw?
Yeah, I thought today was good. You know, we tried to simulate a 2-minute situation where we got a longer kick for Josh and for Tanner to be able to win the game. You know, and then you end up kicking a few more kicks after that. But today, I thought they did an excellent job. I think the first thing is, too, you got to look at yourself and say, let's make sure that we don't do an interview and Puka Nacua is walking by, and then let's also not let's not ask our guys to take some of those longer attempts. I didn't think I did a good job with just some of my overall decision making, and so I was really pleased with what I've seen from Josh and Tanner so far, and that's going to be a thing that we have to improve on without a doubt.
How is this different for you this year, having a healthy Cooper Kupp and now knowing what Puka is capable of rather than last year, you know, trying to figure out?
It's a lot. I think every year's a new year. That's what you've learned in the previous 7 years, Gary, but we are healthier. We've got a lot more guys that have played football and have established the right to feel confident, but they also know that you got to earn it every single day, every single year. I think it's a big deal, too, when you talk about that receiver room in general. You mentioned Puka. I always want to combine their names. You mentioned Puka and Cooper, but I think DeMarcus Robinson has done an amazing job picking up where he left off. I got a ton of confidence in him, and Tutu Atwell is another guy, and I thought he had a great day today, and I feel really good about those four, and then there's some other guys with the depth of that room that are asserting themselves, and we'll continue to see how that unfolds.
Couple more, guys.
A year ago, at this time,
This is crazy.
people didn't even know how to pronounce his name, let alone
Now he
this.
just
What is
goes
this
by
like
one
for
name.
You? What is this like for you?
For Puka?
For you, to hear it.
It's awesome. You know, here's what I love about him is he stayed the same guy. He's humble. He's got this authenticity to him, why everybody loves him. But when he goes in between those white lines, he is a maniac. And he loves to compete. He loves the challenges. But he also understands what a cool platform he's earned to be able to take advantage of that while still staying humble, understand the work works. I love the guy. I'm really, I just enjoy being around him. He's a pleasure, and it's easy to see why everybody loves him.
Sean, being down a couple corners this early, how much did it affect workload and what you were able to do today and maybe next week?
Yeah, I thought Aubrey did a really good job of being able to get some of the younger guys reps that they wouldn't get otherwise. It didn't affect us, but it will over time. That's why we brought Jerry Jacobs in. We'll continue to monitor that. That's not something that we're going to allow to affect the other guys. And what you can't do, too, is be afraid. You're saying, man, you don't ever want those things to happen, but you can't let it affect your ability to go practice, try to continuously get better. I've had to learn that the hard way with some different things that have occurred in previous years, and you hate it for those guys. That's probably the worst part of this job, is watching the work that comes in, some of these things that are out of their control that occur. I had already mentioned Darious is going to do a great job being able to get back as soon as possible, and I know DK is going to attack his rehab, and we'll put our arm around him in the meantime, and then he'll be ready to roll next year.
Last one, guys.
Training camp is going compared to last season, especially with the guys who are like going to another new season.
Yeah, you know, it's so hard. It's hard to compare the way it started last year. I like the way that our guys are working right now, and that's all I can really ask of them. There's going to be things that we can improve upon. We're still, you know, we've really had 3 full-speed practices, one kind of jog through that was a little bit longer version of a walkthrough for us, and then, you know, I'll have some better clarity on what we're looking like as we put the pads on and get closer and closer to, you know, the opener against Detroit. Okay? Thank you, guys.